Hi everyone, it's Karen Hooley and welcome to this week's Team Whooleygan chat. I'm really excited you guys are here. I'll check in the chat room here in just a moment, but I wanted to do my normal opening. If you are watching for the first time or haven't been by in a while, make sure you check out KarenHooley.com. Everything you need to know about Karen Hooley Designs from patterns, books, and classes are all there. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. The link to the direct form or the direct link to the form is right there at the bottom of the screen. So make sure you subscribe. Subscribers always get 25% off new released patterns, discounts on books, and they know first about classes coming up and things like that. So make sure you do subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, I just want to put up my YouTube channel here. You can always go and subscribe there, and make sure if you are watching on YouTube that you hit the thumbs up as well. That helps me get seen by other crocheters out there, and I really would love to see Team Whooleygan start growing. So make sure you do check that out and subscribe and hit that thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then also make sure you follow me on Instagram. That's the social media platform I'm the most active on. It's at Karen Hooley. Make sure there's no spaces or underscores in between my name, my first and last name. So there you go. If you are watching after the fact on Rumble, or if you've never heard of Rumble, or you want to check out my Rumble channel, go ahead. There is my link down there to my Rumble channel. Rumble and YouTube, as far as followers are concerned, are within about one to three. It changes every day. How many people are there? So you can subscribe in both places. Make sure that you check that out as well. And lastly, if you're not watching on Facebook, which I am simultaneously streaming on YouTube and on Facebook, make sure you you check out my Facebook page. I'm not that super active there, but I do stream every week there as well. So I'm going to head over to the chat room. You guys are starting to chat, so let me see who's here. And let's see. Linda's here. Yay! You are having two windows replaced, so you hope you can hear. And like button smash. Thank you. I appreciate that. And here's Pat. Pat, I just sent you an email, so hopefully you got it. Good morning. Hi, Stephanie. Good morning. It's good to see you here. And Marianne, good morning. I'm glad you're here as well. So you guys, as I put in the chat remarks, today is going to be a Q&A. Things are a little crazy with my brain. So if you have questions for me that I don't need a second camera for, I don't have my iPhone hooked up as a second camera. So I can't show like stitches and things like that. But if you have a question that you want me to answer, start thinking about it. As soon as I'm done with showing you some stuff, I will definitely ask you guys to start putting your questions in chat so I can answer them. Renee's here too. Good morning, Renee. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. This week, I don't have a whole lot of new stuff to show you. I didn't get anything new in the studio, no new yarn, no new products or anything like that. But I did want to show you guys newly released Summer Flowers. That was released yesterday. It's available now on my website. Let me put the banner up for you so that if you haven't seen my newsletter, this is the pattern. This is the original cowl. I've still got my tag for the photographer on it. But that's the original cowl. I was going to wear it, but it's too warm here, so I didn't want to put it on. But this is the cowl. It's a super simple pattern, 2-row repeat. And if you're here and you were one of my testers, I will be sending you the pattern shortly. I completely forgot yesterday, so I apologize for that. But I do have it available both in digital and in print. I just got the print copies yesterday morning, so if you're interested in that pattern in print, you can get it in print as well. So other than that, that is the only thing I had to show you guys today. I know you guys always ask how I'm feeling, so I just let you know that this last week was really tough. I had a lot more pain this time than I have had in the past, so my brain was a little foggy, and I didn't do a whole lot. In fact, you probably notice on Instagram, I haven't been doing my lives. I'm going to try to do one today, or not my live, but my video. So make sure you check that out later. I'm just going to do a really short one. It'll probably be mostly about that pattern, but I'm going to do, I'll talk about a couple other things too. So if you have any questions for me, let me know. I do have a super secret project I'm working on. I can't show it to you, unfortunately, but it is the last super secret project for the year, except for the pattern I'll be doing for the 2022 free pattern for my newsletter subscribers. For those of you who don't get my newsletter, every year I release a brand new pattern. It's not something taken from my catalog. So as soon as this one's done and I get a couple other things done, I'll probably in October start working on that pattern. And then in January, actually on January 1st, the pattern switches. So Pache, which is a free pattern this year, if you want Pache, got to subscribe to my newsletter. Otherwise, on January 1st, it will switch to paid. And then the new pattern will be the new pattern. And for new subscribers and anybody who is on my newsletter, on January 1st, they get an option to download that pattern if they're interested in it. So if you're already subscribed to the newsletter, you will always get my free patterns. So there you go. So those are the only two that are left that I am going to be doing as super secret. But other stuff, I will be able to show you little things about it. Maybe not the whole thing, but I'll be able to show you some of it. Okay, so any questions for me? I was just going to look at my list here of things you guys have asked me to do videos on before. And I did do the organizing patterns and yarn. And let's see. A lot of this is stuff I have to show you. Good question. Okay. Oh, Marianne, you're welcome. I just saw your post about thank you for the print patterns. There's been a lot more people asking for actual print patterns lately. So I wanted to make sure that from now on going forward, there's at least a few in stock of every pattern that I do. I don't order that many up front to see how many I sell up front. So, but they will be available going forward. I can't guarantee that past patterns will have print, but if I get enough interest in it, I'll print them and do like a little pre-order for those people. So if there's anything you want in print that's not in print, it'll show in my website currently out of stock. So just let me know. I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but on my screen, I keep seeing myself go dark a little bit. It's like it flashes. Are you seeing that? Anybody? Nope. Yep. Maybe. If you're seeing me kind of flash dark really fast, I don't know what's going on. It's been doing that all morning. Oh, you are seeing it. Marianne says she sees it. If anybody else is seeing it, let me know. I'm not sure what's going on with our power then, because first I thought it might be my camera being out of whack or something, but my whole screen is going, there it went again. So I'm not sure if there's a power issue or it could be my camera. I don't know. Guys aren't posting any questions today. Let's see. One of the things you guys asked me to talk about was, let's talk about stereotypes. Maybe we can talk about stereotypes for knitters and crocheters. So give me an example of a stereotype that you absolutely hate about knitting and crocheting. Yeah, okay, you guys are starting to see it. Okay, I'm hoping that my power doesn't go out then. I mean, we've been having heat waves. It's supposed to be cooler tomorrow, but I don't know. I know that at one point we were having such high heat, they were talking about a brownout or a rolling blackout or something, but that never came to pass, and I haven't heard anything since. So I hope that's not what the issue is. Anyway, guys, so at one point somebody asked me if I would talk about the stereotypes that drive us crazy and why they're not true. So one of the stereotypes that, I mean, this is probably the biggest one for all crocheters, is that crochet is the little sister to knitting. And if you would have talked to my nonna who taught me how to crochet, she knit and she crocheted, and she always said that each one of them does their own thing better. But she was a very fine lace person. She did a lot of lace work, and we did doilies, but it was mostly like lace edgings and runners and things like that. And she did thread bedspreads and stuff like that. And she always said that's what crochet does better. And it's just beautiful. Crochet is it can't be, because we can use the same yarns. We can use the same, threads and stuff like that. And it's faster. I don't even know how to even dispel that. There's no reason for anybody to say that we're the little sister. So, anybody's got comments on that, let me know. Stephanie comes up. It's only grandmas knit and crochet. Yes, that's another one that I hear a lot of. In my teenage years, that's what all my friends used to tell me that I would make a great grandma. So, yeah. Anybody else have a stereotype? I remember when I was first starting to teach classes here in the state of Washington, when we first moved here, I was teaching at a shop it's actually a fabric store, but it also had a whole big yarn section called Pacific Fabrics. And I had a student in there who took my beginner's class on purpose because she wanted to learn how to crochet and then move on to thread. And she used to do antique, what do you call them? The antique dishcloths. My fuzzy brain is back, guys. So if I'm losing words, you understand why. I have one more treatment tomorrow, and then I'm done for the quarter. So hopefully my fuzzy brain will go away. Anyway, so she learned to crochet. She learned to crochet beautifully. I did a thread class for her just so that she could get used to working with thread instead of yarn. And then she went to a local yarn shop and said, the lady asked her what she was looking for. She was looking for crochet thread because at that time we did have Michaels and Joann's and Ben Franklin. And it was before Hobby Lobby got to this side of the state, or this side of the country. And she said she was looking for crochet thread and she wasn't finding the colors she wanted at Michael's or Joann's. And so if they had crochet thread, and the shop owner looked at her and said, well, you cannot crochet with our yarns. There's nothing here that you can crochet with. And that shop closed about, maybe 6 months, 8 months later. So she told everyone that she knew what this shop owner said. And a lot of people boycotted that shop. So it was kind of interesting to see how shop owners can be so divided with their crochet as well. Let's see. Pat says, a knit store owner used to say when she punished her children, she would make them crochet. They are all avid knitters. Oh, wow. Oh, see, there you go. I don't understand. Because, I mean, especially nowadays with all the beautiful crochet that's coming out. Granted, there's a lot of bulky knitting, a lot of granny squares kind of thing. And that's not my jam at all, guys, anymore. When I was first a designer, I used a lot of worsted weight. I did a lot of blankets and hats and all that kind of stuff. But there's so much more you can do with crochet than that. And I do realize that some of the younger crocheters want quick projects and things like that because they're raising kids and they just want to be able to do something that doesn't take long. And that's fine. But I'm kind of more of the, I like to see garments and I like to see shawls and things like that. So I don't get that attitude. Anybody else have a shop owner say something like that? And Pat says she does not feel welcome. Yes, I wouldn't feel welcome there either. There's still a lot of shops that are more knitting than crocheting, but I'm finding that more and more they're starting to realize they're going to sell more yarn to crocheters. Crocheters use at least a third more yarn. Let's say you're making a baby blanket, at least 1/3 more yarn than a knitter does for the same size blanket, depending on the weight you're using. Could be, half to even double sometimes. If you're doing something cabled, it uses up a lot of yarn. So I'm not sure why shop owners do that. That's true, Linda. Actually, she was doing her children a service without knowing it. They learned to be bike crafty. And that's true. I mean, there's no reason. I just don't understand. I learned to crochet first. It took me forever to figure out knitting after I learned how to crochet. It took me 30 years between the two. I was 7 when I learned to crochet and 37 when I learned to knit. So I'm not sure why that would be such a thing. Anybody else? The whole grandma thing that Stephanie talked about, I don't understand it because now, I don't understand that people are still saying that. Because there's so many celebrities now that are crocheting and even knitting. Knitting is probably more prevalent there, but there's a lot of them that do crochet. There are, the younger generation is showing through the influencer programs that yes, they are, they're crocheting out there. So I'm not sure why it's sudden, I still hear that every once in a while that someone will tell me that someone told them that the grandmother used to do that. Or I'll even get somebody online telling me, my grandmother used to do that. And it's like, And Kelly just made it in. Hi, Kelly. I'm glad you're here. We're just talking about stereotypes in crochet. Like if grandmas do it only, that kind of thing. Linda says, there used to be a yarn shop in the western Chicago suburbs. I paid for a short class and the shop owner didn't like the needles that I brought because they were plastic. I used those because they worked with the yarn I was using. Yeah. Store is permanently closed now. Yep. Well, a lot of shops these days, and I can completely understand that part of it, is that they want you to bring needles that you bought at their shop. A lot of shops now are saying you can't bring outside yarns or tools. If you have a crochet hook you bought, like 2 years ago from them, then yeah, they're fine with that. Or if it's a hook they carry, unless you have some sort of issue with hooks, and you have to have a specialized hook. And yarn, but plastic hooks have kind of gone by the wayside for the most part, not completely, but they are, because of the molding process. But for me, if plastic's going to be what works smoothly with your yarn, I don't understand why either. That's interesting. Wow. Okay. Huh. Okay, so Stephanie says, I taught my grandson to knit when he was about 10 or 12. He's now 25. He sent me pictures of beanies and blankets and some other things he made. That's awesome. See, and that's the other thing. A lot of people say guys don't want to crochet or men don't crochet. And there's a guy here in Washington who's a Boeing engineer. He helps design the Boeing airplanes, and he is the best thread crocheter I have ever seen. He makes these beautiful doilies. He enters them into the fair every year. They're just beautiful. Yeah. My son crochets too. He's going to be 25 in September. I taught him. I have a picture of him about 5, with a crochet hook and yarn, and he's got red yarn and he's crocheting. I should post that on Instagram. He'd probably kill me, but it's really cute. But yeah, he's made amigurumi. And in fact, yesterday we were texting back and forth because I'm working on the super secret project, and I knew that he would love the colors of it. So I kind of sent him a little sneak peek of it, and he was just like, oh, and then he started asking me about yarn companies, whose yarn it was, and if it was this one. And he says he follows one of the yarn companies, not the one I'm doing the super secret project with, but he follows the Fiber Seed. So Lindsay, if you're out there watching this, my son follows you on Instagram and other places. He said she's lucky he doesn't crochet as often as he'd like to, because he's lucky that he doesn't crochet as much as he'd like to, because he'd be spending all his money on her yarn. So, so I think that was pretty cool. I guess I raised him right. Let's see. Kelly says there's a yarn shop in the same metro area as the one I work at, and they have dubbed our store as for crocheters only, as if that's a negative connotation. Oh, wow. I think that's wrong. I mean, I honestly, I'll tell you, I hope that you get all the crocheters and they don't, because you're going to make a lot more money just because crocheters use a lot more yarn. That's just nuts. I don't, that's the thing that makes me crazy, is that knitters still say that. I think that's changing. I really do. As the younger generation comes up, and those who are bi-craftual, I knit, I crochet, I spin. I'm trying to avoid weaving because I have enough to do with just those 3. So I don't know why people would even. Oh, okay. So Stephanie says, so I guess I am now the stereotype. What do you mean by that, Stephanie? Which comment? Oh, okay. Wait, I'm not quite sure where you're saying that you are the stereotype. So tell me what you mean by you are the stereotype. Kelly, I've been seeing younger people coming in as more, yes. And I think the pandemic kind of helped that. It's kind of funny because way back when, I first started designing back in 1998 professionally. 1998 was when I sold my first pattern. And back then, right around the year 2000, they had this whole big thing about cocooning. I don't know if everybody remembers this, that everybody was afraid of what was going to happen when we changed it to 2000. My neighbors were all, storing food and water and all that stuff. And Dave and I were actually still working. Well, Dave was. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and designing. But we were worried about, because we're both in the computer programming world, and we were like worried about what was going to happen with the time clocks, because a lot of software back then used like January or December 31st, 1999 as the last date that they could handle. So that was what we were worried about. Everybody else was worried about food and water. But part of that was this cocooning thing where everybody was, staying at home, trying to do things and learning to crochet. So that was the first big boom of knitting and crocheting happening. And now it seems like, again, that with the pandemic, so many more young people are picking up the craft. In fact, my son was telling me yesterday, he has 2 friends who crochet that have crocheted since they were very young. And he was telling me about their projects, and they call me Mama Whooley. So he's going to go see one of them next month in Montana as a friend of his from college. So she's always sharing projects so that I can see them and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see the younger generation doing stuff. Okay, so Deborah's here. Good morning, Deborah. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. And then Kelly said, Funny that they haven't figured that out. I know. That shop should definitely realize that they'd be selling more yarn if they cater to crocheters, but there you go. Yarn shops seem to favor knitting with their patterns and samples. And yes, that's true. And I think a lot of the older shops, yes. I mean, those that have been established for a long time. I know the shop that I used to work at over on the West Side for years, I think I quit around 2012 or 2013. I can't remember exactly when. They had mostly knitting until I worked there, and then I would start doing samples for them. But I don't know how they are now. I haven't been in that shop for years. So, but she was always more catered to the knitters. Stephanie, being a grandma. Yep. You are the stereotype now, Stephanie. All of us, anytime when any of us are grandma. Yep. A grandma who crochets. Yep. There you go. Okay. Kelly says, our shop has about half knit samples and half crochet samples. And I would love to see shops more like that. My local shop here, I wouldn't say she's half and half, but she's pretty close. She has some of my samples up now in her shop because some of my samples here that I have in my repertoire are yarns that she carries. So she's got a few up and she's carrying my books now and things like that. And as soon as my daughter's wedding is over, I need to go over there and talk to her about classes and stuff like that. But yes, half and half is what I'd love to see shops do. And there's a couple people that I know. There's a gal here in Washington that opened a shop about 1.5 years ago, I want to say. And she's on the other side of the state, but she, maybe it's 2 years because I was still living over there when she opened. She is a crocheter first. So all her samples were mostly crochet. I mean, she had her mom knitting some stuff, but she was definitely more crochet. And I'm noticing that there's a lot of crocheters first who are becoming dyers and shop owners and things like that. So it's really good to see that starting to happen. And I'm in fact, the super secret project that I'm working on, it's first time this dyer is working with a crocheter for what we're doing. So, I'm happy to introduce dyers and shops to crochet. So if any of you, want to talk to your shops about carrying my patterns, carrying my books, I ask you to do that. Having me come in and teach once things open up a little bit more. So make sure that if you would like me to come teach, or if you'd like me to do Zoom class for your local shop, if they're doing them that way, or if you want them to carry my patterns and books, you got to tell them about me. So there you go with that. And your shop, hey, there you go. A yarn owner who's learning to knit. She's a crocheter learning to knit. So there you go. See, there's more and more people that are doing that. And that's awesome. And I truly believe that anybody who owns a shop should at least know the basics of both. The shop that I used to work for, the owner did know the basics of crochet, and so she could help people, but she didn't know enough, and that's why she hired me, was to be the crochet guru. But if you know enough and know how the yarn differences are and things like that, I think that's so important too. How much, like crocheters use more yarn and why that is important. So see, there's shops out there that that are owned by crocheters who are learning to knit. So anybody else have something about stereotypes or have any other questions? I mean, I was planning to do this as a Q&A, but nobody was asking me questions, so we just started on down this vein. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I'm trying to think if there's anything going on that I can tell you about. You know what I didn't mention at the beginning and that I should probably mention is if you've been on my website, You know about for those of you who popped in late, my Summer Flowers pattern just released yesterday. So if you've been on to even just look at it, at the top of the screen, it says that I'm going to be on a scheduled maintenance next Tuesday. So that's a week from yesterday. At that point, on Tuesday the 27th, I'm probably around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm shutting down my site and I'm migrating over to WordPress from Shopify, because I have 2 things now that are coming in the new year that I need to start prepping the site for, that I discovered is going to cost me a fortune, absolute fortune, if I stayed with Shopify. I've already got the new website done. I just have to change over my URL to point to the new site. And I need to update BookFunnel. If you buy patterns from me and books from me, you know that I use BookFunnel to serve them to you. I have to update that so they are pointing to each other as well. So I'm planning for it to only take the 1 day to do that, because it's a very simple procedure to do both of those things. Everything else is already locked and loaded to go. But I did want to let you know that I will be down next week for at least 1 day. Well, I'm thinking it's going to take a full day to just make sure everything is working smoothly. I'll let you know though on, I guess, yeah, it's the day before my last call for July. Can you believe we're almost at the end of July? But I'll let you know on my next live whether or not things are open or shut. Okay, so Linda just said, oh, I saw you come through, Linda, that you bought the new cowl. Thank you. I appreciate it. For those of you who are late coming in, again, Summer Flowers just released. I have it available in both print. This is a print copy, and digital. I was going to wear the cowl this morning, but it's too warm. But here's the original cowl. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check it out. It's on my website now. On the front page, you should be able to just click on the picture and go directly to the page if you're interested in that pattern. Kelly says, do you want to talk about blocking before or after weaving in ends, and if there's a difference or a reason why one over the other? I can do that. I can absolutely do that. Okay, so I don't know if any of you saw my post on Instagram last week. I did a question and answer of whether or not people block before or after they weave in their ends. And I think, Kelly, you and I talked about this a little bit before too. But the survey that I did was overwhelmingly people weave in ends before or after. Before rather than after. Sorry, I get my brain. I'm telling you guys, it's really hard this week with the treatments. Anyway, so I block before, and the reason I do that is because if I'm working on something that has a lot of ends, especially like something that I'm changing colors like every row or every 2 rows, and I can't carry it up the side for any reason, I block I always weave those in before I block, because it tends to tangle, first of all, especially if I'm doing a full-on wet block. They tend to tangle. And the other thing is too, is that even if you just do a half knot, because you're really not supposed to leave the knots there if you are weaving in ends, because the knots get caught in things and the knots can make extra bulk that you don't want. If you were to even do, a knot that wouldn't come out, but that you would pick out later, if you're doing a full-on wet block, sometimes there's enough heat in there to felt it just enough that you can't get those knots out. And if you don't knot them in some way, I have had projects that have actually, that row came undone because the water was heavy enough to make the tail move. So for me, I don't usually weave in my ends until I'm at the end of a project, because I want to make sure that everything is done correctly. So if I'm working on a garment or something like that,
I will weave in the ends for all the pieces once I'm ready to block and make sure that everything's there right. The only case where that is not the case is when I'm working on something that might be in squares, where I'm completing squares and then I'm going to, sew them all together later. I will, when I complete a square, I will sew in the ends, even if I block them, block them or blocking the blanket or not, or whatever I'm making with the squares. I just like to have the square completely done before I start seaming everything. So it's just faster for me to make a square, sew in the ends, make a square, sew in the ends, that kind of thing. That's the reason I block before. I weave in ends before. Now, there are some people who don't like to weave in ends until after the project's blocked. And that's because sometimes what will happen is when you block, especially if you're doing something lacy, you might have when you start to stretch things, it causes the tail to kind of move from where it's coming out of. When you weave in your tails, you might get little ends that you have to trim off later. So a lot of people don't like that, so they will weave in the ends after it's blocked. But in my opinion, that's going to happen anyway the next time you wash and block whatever it is that you're working on. So why not move those ends out then, right away then. Like the project I'm working on right now has a lot of ends, more than I'm used to actually. And I have to weave them in before I block, because it will just save me time later just to do a little snip on the little ends that might be poking out after I block. The other thing with weaving in ends is that you have to know how to weave your ends in so that they don't come undone or they don't slip too much when you are blocking later. So if you haven't watched my YouTube video or a Rumble video on weaving in ends, I highly recommend that you do, because I have found over the years, this is how my grandmother taught me and how I've been doing it for the last 40 plus years. And ends don't come out when you wash. They don't come out that much when you are blocking. They might get that little frayed thing the first time and you just snip those, but that's so much easier than having to. For me, I like taking things off the board and they're done. I don't have to do anything else. So it's actually, for the most part, a personal preference, but it's also more of, if you're going to finish properly, I don't want to say that, because I don't want to say that my way is necessarily better than anybody else's, but most people who want to finish things properly is I don't know how else to say it, is you weave in those ends first and then block, and then at the end of the block, if you have to trim a little bit of fuzz, you can do that. Weaving in ends is extremely important when you're doing stuff like this, especially with multiple color changes, because if you don't weave in your ends, there's a lot of crocheters out there who just crochet over their ends and they're done. And those are the kinds of ends that come out. The way I do it locks the fibers into themselves, unless it's something like a really slick nylon or something like that. Then you want to melt the ends so that they, it's almost like gluing the end down. But the fibers, especially natural fibers, whether they're animal or plant-based, they'll lock into each other and they won't come out as easily. So that's why I would do it before blocking. Does that make sense? Let's see. I have one crochet friend designer that blocks first, then weaves in ends so that the ends don't pop through if you do it the opposite way. Yep. And that's just what I just said, is that a lot of people think that, but it doesn't take that much to. And for me, I don't use hot water when I block, especially if it's got wool in it or cotton, but I do use a little bit more warm for certain fibers, not all fibers, but certain fibers. I will do that on purpose so that it will felt slightly where those tails are, because what causes things to felt is heat and friction. Okay. So if it's a little warm when I'm blocking, there's going to be some friction as I'm stretching, and that it doesn't really felt it, but it kind of like helps keep the strands interlocked. I don't know how else to say it. They just kind of stick together. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, Kelly. Renee is asking what yarn I'm recommending for the new cowl. This is a fingering weight yarn. This original was done with Serial Knitters Dye. Let me read it for you because I can't remember how she exactly says it. Serial Knitters Underground Dye House Cherry Creek sock yarn, and I used her colorway Flower Girl. So that's what I use this. It's kind of an off-white with speckles. I mean, it's one of those yarns it's just speckled. And I thought this stitch pattern really made it work. So that's what I have as the sample being made out of. If you're interested in that yarn, I know she's got tons of different colors in stock. She's got great yarns. She was actually, Serial Knitters used to be a yarn shop, an actual physical yarn shop on the west side of the state of Washington in Kirkland. And COVID forced her to close. And even when she was a shop, she was dyeing her own yarn, which is the Dye House Yarns brand name. And Cherry Creek Sock is the base. She was already dyeing yarns. In fact, if you look at my pattern, Girasole, or Girasole, if you're Italian. Girasole is made out of her yarn, and I did that for a yarn shop by a yarn crawl 2 years ago. I think it's 2 years now that it was in her shop. So her yarns are great. So if you're interested in that yarn, she's Serial Knitters. If you go on Instagram, she's at Serial Knitters, all one word. I think it's serialknitters.com. I don't think she's added the underground. She calls it Serial Knitters Underground now because she's all online. And she's still trying to sell off some of the stock she had in the shop. I know she just did a big sale on Cascade yarns not too long ago. I don't know what other brands she might still have that are left over from the shop closure. I know she sold a ton when she closed the shop, but she calls it Underground because now she's completely online. Pat, how's that baby sweater coming along? It's good. It's still on the blocking board. I had to reblock it a little bit because I didn't realize when I blocked it, I didn't check the underneath, and I had this big old fold in it. So it's back on the blocking board. And so I'm probably going to put that aside until early next month and finish it next month because I got to get the super secret project out. So it'll be out shortly. I mean, it's not going to be out till next year. The pattern won't be released until next year, but it should be done shortly. So because I still have to have it tested and photographed and all that stuff. So I'm hoping by around the first of the year, that's where it's slated to be my January pattern. So, and Kelly says, good thoughts. Thank you. Okay, no problem. Blocking is kind of a personal thing for most people. And so, I have my opinions on it and after 40 years of crocheting and doing stuff and even knitting too, I found what works for me. And I'm finding that most people like to weave in ends first. Those tails are the big ones. I mean, just having things unravel on me really, really annoys me. So there you go. Okay, guys, we have about 15 more minutes. Anybody else have a question for me? Anything you want to talk about? I mean, anything new going on out there that you've heard about? Trying to think. I just heard today, this morning actually, that if I don't know if any of you guys know Lorna's Laces, that yarn brand. She was one of the Lorna Miser started Lorna's Laces as a dyer, and then she sold it. And then the new owner owned it for a few years, and she started a new line called Mrs. Crosby. And then she decided to retire and sold it to someone else named Amanda. And Amanda just came out and said this week that she's closing those two dye lines because her sales have gone down 93% since last year. Can't even imagine sales dropping that much in a year. So if you're a Lorna's Laces, Mrs. Crosby fan, a Dyer fan, make sure you check out your local shops because they're going to be clearancing those. And I think she also does online. So it's Lorna's Laces or Mrs. Crosby. Oh, Linda, I'm so sorry. She can't even think the noise from the windows, guys, is killing me. I'm so sorry. I understand, though. We had our windows replaced in the old house. So, yeah, I remember the noise. It was not fun at all. But that's something that just happened. So that's new. I don't know what else. I can tell you my friend Nancy at Schmutzarella is dyeing again. She started her movie night yarn club again. So you might want to check out SmutzarellaYarns.com. She's also does wholesale. So if you like Kelly, I don't know if you guys do indie dyed yarns, but you might want to check into her yarns. She's a crocheter too. So I love her yarns. I do a lot with her yarns. Queen of Hearts was originally done with her yarns. So, and I have several other projects coming up the pike using her yarns. That Kelly just asked me if I have a favorite dyer, and I was just talking about her, Schmutzarella Yarns. I'm going to put her in the chat room. It's Schmutzarella. Let me make sure. Schmutzarella Yarns. I think I spelled it right. Okay. I'm putting her in the chat. She does, she's got some really cool collections. She does like, hers is all geek themed yarns. But she also does things like we had a couple of years ago, we had a really bad snowstorm on the west side. And so she did this, which is Baby, It's Cold Outside. And she still has this in her line because it was so popular. People absolutely love this yarn. So it's not all geek themed, but she does things like Harry Potter themed named yarn. She's done movie night. So based on cult movies. She also does, she has a whole series on, and I cannot think of the name of the movie right now. Oh, I should know this. It's the movie that people actually go dressed up. And, oh gosh. It's going to kill me until I think of it. But anyway, so she's my favorite dyer. I'm going to put that up there, Schmutzarella Yarns. Oh, I didn't spell it right. It's Rocky Horror. Yes, thank you. Rocky Horror is the movies. I forgot the Z. I'm going to pull her yarn and just do it that way. There we go. That is, I'm telling you guys, my brain is just not functioning right now again. So yes, so that is my favorite yarn, my favorite dyer. She's a good friend too, Nancy. Okay, so had to lock Brad away in the master bedroom. I bet you did. I bet you did. Let's see. Do you know If the Advent project has decent colors, the Harry Potter theme scares me. The picture is dark and scary. Actually, the Advent project is beautiful yarns. Much better than last year's colors, in my opinion. If you saw my Bewitched cowl, that was last year's Harry Potter theme. This year's are, I am absolutely in love with every color that's in there. So I can tell you for sure it's beautiful. So if you're interested in that, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, that's Forbidden Fiber. She's another one of my favorite dyers. Forbidden Fiber Arts, or no, Forbidden Fiber Co. She does also themed kits as well, and I've done 2 for her. Halloween is already sold out, but she does have her Harry Potter theme one. So if you're interested, I know it looks scary, but it's really not. It's really pretty. It's really, really, really pretty. So make sure you check that out as well. Let's see. You love her yarn pack. If you're talking about Smutzarella, Deborah, yes, her yarn packs are amazing. I have one here. This is Smutzarella yarn pack. This is the Ghost of Miss Scarlet. So this is she's several yarn packs. I think almost all of them are based on the game and the movie's Clue. So this is the Ghost of Miss Scarlet. All the colors I used in what is that yarn? Queen of Hearts. I used 2 of her mini packs, so 2 sets of 6 colors, plus a 7th, or let's see, so a 13th color that merged the 2. So yes, Downton Abbey. Yes, she does. Yes, she does a lot of the cult movies stuff. So yes, Mozzarella, she's my favorite. I mean, honestly, and I miss not living near her, because she and I would regularly go have coffee dates, and we'd crochet, and we'd talk about projects I was doing, and she'd recommend yarns in her line. So that's why I have a lot of her yarn. This one is another one of my favorites. I should show you. I got this a couple years ago, and I think I finally figured out what I'm going to do with it. I don't know if you can see. This is called Time and Relative Dimension in Space. And you can't really see it, but she uses a yarn or a base for this, that it's called Spectacular. And it's got stellina in it, which is that glittery stuff. And she usually uses gold. She loves the gold versus the silver stellina for her yarns. So hers are always gold. But this particular colorway, the gold actually absorbed the blue. And so all the stellina is actually dyed blue, and it sparkles. And you can kind of see it. See when I'm moving it right here, if you look right here, you can kind of see the stellina come and go, but it's blue. It's sparkly. I love this one. So this one's called Time and Relative Dimension in Space. This is the only colorway of hers that I know of that actually the stellina actually took the dye on. So yeah. Let's see. Hers is the Mystery of Peacock Plum, purple and blue. Yeah, her color. There is no dyer out there who does minis as beautifully as that gradient minis as beautifully as Mozzarella. I have not seen anybody who does the gradients as beautiful as she does. I really like that she has searching by base and color, which more people do the color option, right? Absolutely. And oh yeah, it's gold stellina. All of her Spectacular is in the gold stellina, Kelly. So definitely check that out. She's got, oh God, I love her yarns. In fact, one of the first patterns coming out next year in my pattern club will be using one of her Spectacular bases with the gold stellina, and you can actually see the gold in it. It's beautiful. So I'm hoping the pictures really make that stellina stand out. So yeah, gold stellina, it's so pretty, so pretty. So yeah, I hope her ears are burning. We're talking about her. I love her yarn. I can't promote it enough. She's also probably one of my biggest supporters as well. Just about everything I release, she makes a sample of in her yarn. And since we've known each other, that she pretty much makes everything in her yarns. And when she's at shows, they're always displayed. So she made from my A Garden of Shawls book, she made what's the name of that shawl? Enchantment. It's, if you know my book, it's the red. It's solid red. It's got kind of eyelets going through the main body of the shawl, and then it's got this beautiful lace edge. And she did that with minis, and it's so pretty. And when she's got it displayed, it's just gorgeous. So definitely check out Nancy at Schmutzarella. She's been having some issues with the shutdown a little bit, getting things done on time, because she and her dad actually helps her dye. And with the shutdown, she got a little bit behind. So I know she's getting back on track. So, and she's been posting colors on Instagram that she's got it back in stock. And I know she's doing her, like I said, her movie night yarn club. So make sure you check her out. So she is my favorite dyer. Okay, guys, we got about 5 minutes. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Or I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can talk about. Kind of been playing around with my yarns. I was just looking at my wall behind me. I've been playing with my yarns, reorganizing, getting yarns ready for different projects I have coming up. That Baby It's Cold Outside that I just showed you is going to be one of the next projects I do too. So, well, you know what, guys? I'm going to go ahead and do my closing, and then I'll come back to chat with you guys. If you guys have any more questions for me or comments, but I want to go ahead and do the closing, and then we'll just do the final stuff before we end it for today. So if you are watching after the fact, thank you so much for getting this far. And don't forget to check out my website at KarenHooley.com. Everything about Karen Hooley Designs is there, from classes and books and patterns. And make sure while you're there, you subscribe to my newsletter. You send one out twice a month usually, except for the months of July and August. I'm only doing one this year. So make sure you check it out. And if you would like to subscribe to my newsletter, you get 25% off all new releases, get discounts on new books. You're first to know about new classes and sales and everything like that. So make sure that you go to this link to directly subscribe at KarenHooley.com/subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, go check out my YouTube channel. This is the link to my YouTube channel, and make sure you subscribe and you hit the thumbs up so that more people can see my YouTube lives and anything else I post on YouTube. I should be doing more. Once my daughter is married off, I'll be doing more video, I promise. Right now, I'm wearing crunch. You can also follow me on Instagram at Karen Hooley. That's where I'm the most active. So make sure you check it out at Karen Hooley. And if you're not watching on Rumble, you can always check out my Rumble channel as well and subscribe there. Rumble is just another video streaming service that seems to be, I'm on par on both places with the number of subscribers. So make sure you check out Rumble as well. And if you're not watching on Facebook, this is my Facebook channel. I simultaneously stream this video to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. And then Rumble does not allow me to stream to it. So I always upload after the fact. So make sure you check out my Rumble as well. So I am done with that. So before I go, I just want to check the comments. Oops, wait 1 second here. Let me take that off. Okay, so check the comments. Yes, Stephanie, ask for prayers, definitely. Tell me, what do you need prayers for? I'm glad to pray. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here that'd be willing to pray. So let me know. Kelly just says, I would love to get your thought process for a design one time. I can. It's different for everything, but yeah, you know what? I can do that. I'll write that down on my list here of things. Design process. Okay. Did that. So Stephanie, just let us know what you need prayer for. I mean, we're praying for you anyway, regardless. So just if you're willing to share. Oh, Stephanie. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, Stephanie. You have my prayers. Your husband has my prayers. Oh my goodness. Her husband passed away. I'm not going to put that up on the screen, but thank you for telling us. Oh my gosh, Stephanie, I hope you are okay. Was it sudden? Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear that.
10 a.m. It's time to stand up and stretch. Let's take a break for 10 minutes.
My Google Voice app. Okay. I'm so sorry, Stephanie. You have my prayers. Definitely. Oh gosh. That was not at all what I was expecting. So Stephanie, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. I mean, but you are in my prayers. In fact, as soon as I'm done with this, I have a special notebook that I put prayer requests in, and I will put him and you in my prayer folder. So hugs and thoughts, definitely, all of you. Thank you and we're here for you. If you need anything, just let us know. Okay, Stephanie? Okay, so I saw Deborah popped up with something. You are using the foundation single crochet in the new pattern. Are you talking about the new cowl, Deborah? Yes, I did use the foundation single crochet in the new cowl pattern, if that's what you're asking. Okay, guys, it is past 10 o'clock, so I should probably get off. Stephanie, again, anything you need, just let me know if there's anything I can do for you beside prayers. Okay, that's, I'm going to go ahead and end off. Just need prayers and time. And I completely understand that. I completely understand that. So you are so welcome, and you know that we're here for you if you need anything. Love you to death, and thank you for popping in and letting us know. But I'm going to go ahead and sign off now, guys. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next Wednesday, and I will talk to you later. Bye, all.